LinkedIn Excel Assessment Test contains 15 multiple-choice questions to test your knowledge of the application. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer each question, so you can take the test in less than 20 minutes. If you pass the test, LinkedIn displays a badge on your LinkedIn profile demonstrating your knowledge of the application. Having passed LinkedIn Excel Assessment Test shows effort and commitment to prospective employers and increases your chances of getting the job. Since you can only try LinkedIn test every 3 months, we wanted to put together this video that will help you with practice exercises. Every time you try the test, you will get different questions. So we put together a video with 10 most unusual questions we have encountered. In addition to the questions, we also have practice questions and answers and explanations to help you get prepared for the test. We also share with you tips, tricks, and hacks how to better pass the test. Here, in this video, you will have everything you need to get prepared and pass the test. And now, our list of top 10 most unusual LinkedIn Excel Assessment Test questions and answers. Let's look at the question. You need to include a line graph demonstrating a sales trends in the column H, and you have just a little space to work with. How can you do it? And there are 4 choices presented. Add a spark line that sums up the information inside a single cell. Add a picture of the graph to a remark. Add a hyperlink to another worksheet that shows a graph when clicked. And add a picture of the graph to the worksheet. How can you do it? The tricky part of this question is the statement that you have just a little space to work with. And little space means that you probably would want to do it in just one cell. And there is a confirmation of this in the cell H, where we would want to display a trend, which highlighted in yellow. The best way to display a trend is under the circumstances, is to insert a spark line. To insert spark line, you need to highlight the cell in which you're trying to insert spark line. Navigate to Insert tab, and there are multiple choices for spark lines. You have line spark line, you have column spark line, and you have win or loss spark lines. So let's start with line spark line. When we click on this sign to insert line spark line, it shows us the data range and asks us to select the data range, which in our case would be for a particular person. So in case of Andrew, the data range would be between B3 and cell G3. And once we click OK, it shows the trend line for Andrew. We can expand this trend line, and it shows trend lines for Neil, Parker, John, and Lee. If you're happy with the results, you can certainly accept it. Otherwise, we will go back by using the undo button and remove it, and we can try another spark line. To try another spark line, we click Insert, and then in spark line option, let's select columns. And we'll select similar range for Andrew first. Click OK, and it shows bars spark line, and you have multiple choices in terms of styles for spark line bars if you'd like to change them to pick a better color, and then you can expand it for other people. And based on the visual appeal of what you're trying to accomplish, you can select either between bar spark lines or trend line spark lines. So as you might have figured out by now, the correct answer is add a spark line that sums up the information inside a single cell. And spark line, as I explained, is a tiny chart in a worksheet cell that provides visual representation of the data. You can use spark lines to show trends in a series of values, such as seasonal increases or decreases. You can also use spark lines to show economic cycles, highlight maximum or minimum values. And you need to position spark line near its data for greatest impact, which is done exactly in our sampled spreadsheet. Another important point to keep in mind is you insert spark line using Insert menu. But when you have spark line selected, it adds additional tab and Excel ribbon, which is content specific. And in this tab, you have additional choices of how you can format spark lines by using spark line, type, show, style, and group sections, where you have additional selections to format spark line. I'd like to ask you to participate in our daily Excel Assessment Test Challenge. I post new question every day in the community tab of this channel and give you an opportunity to answer this and try it. And I post the answer in the comments next day. So please make sure to check it out and test your knowledge. Now let's continue and help you to get ready for Excel interview and assessment test. Now let's look at the very interesting question that you might be asked as part of Excel test. When you're activating a graph, which sequence of steps adds a trend line to a graph? You present it with the image in which you see the product sales, product information, and then sales information. And then you see the chart which shows the visual representation of this table. And there are 4 choices. Click inside to plot area and then select forecast. In the format group, select Trendline from the Insert Shapes list. Click outside of the plot area and select Add Trendline. And then last choice D, right-click a data series and select Add Trendline. Which one would you choose? The easiest way to add Trendline is to select the data series, do a right mouse click, and then click Add Trendline. And you see the trend, which shows based on the chart and the data representation. As you can see, the right selection is the choice D. All other choices are designed to trick you. What you've learned here is that the trend line is an additional line that increases the slope of the particular data series. And trend lines can be helpful when you're analyzing the data because of the forecast values is based upon your current data. Trend lines are trying to smooth out the data even if the graph doesn't always go in the same direction. For example, if values are different, we used to have all the data increasing from each of the products. But if the values look different, the trend line still tries to smooth out the sales data to show in which direction trend is going. And you can also use moving averages to smooth out the fluctuation in the data series. Sometimes this question might be asked without visual picture. And what you need to remember is that you always add trend line by selecting the data series on the chart. I'd like to share with you some tips, tricks, and hacks how to get ready for Excel assessment test. One of the best ways to get prepared is to use mock and practice assessment tests. This helps you get better knowledge of the tool and better understanding how to pass the test. I also recommend that you read questions carefully, ideally more than once if you have enough time. Also, you should consider answer easy questions first, if you have a choice of going back and forth. This allows you to get your answers in for the easy questions and then process more complicated questions with more time and knowledge and better understanding to give you more chances to get them right. I also recommend validating the answers to the questions with more than one method. For example, if you have formulas to validate the question, and then you can use pivot tables to validate the answers. And last but not least is watch training videos from this channel, from other channels, from as many sources as you can to get prepared. Now let's continue and help you to get ready for Excel interview and assessment test. Very frequently during Excel assessment test, you might be presented with the question like this, which tests your knowledge of the Excel formatting shortcuts. By clicking the button in the image below, indicated by the green arrow, what will happen? And there are 4 choices that might be presented. Excel will hide or show formula bar, select all, select row ID and column ID, and hide or show the ribbon. Which one would you choose? If you click the area in the upper left corner of Microsoft Excel worksheet, it's an equivalent of select all function. So when we click on this, it selects the entire worksheet. So the correct answer in this case is select all. If worksheet contains data and the active cell is above or to the right of the data, pressing Ctrl A selects the current region, and this button is an equivalent of Ctrl A. I hope you got it right. If you would like to take a shortcut and get ready for Excel interview and assessment test faster, make sure to check out my ebook. In this ebook, we cover top 50 Excel interview and assessment test questions. I provide you with the answers. We focus on the keyboard shortcuts that most frequently are tested as part of the test. I share with you some important considerations how you can get ready for the test faster, best ways to get prepared, tips and tricks of what to do during the exam day, how to best manage your time taking the exam, and a lot of other tips, tricks, and hacks for answering multiple choice questions. To download ebook, make sure to use the link in the description of this video to take advantage of discounted price I offer to my subscribers. Let's look at another simple question you might get as part of Excel assessment test. If cell B2 contains a text value, which function returns true? There's a screen print with different text values, and in column B, you see names, which are text values: Jones, Smith, Brown, Johnson, Williams. And also, you have 4 choices. is string, is text, is char, is alpha, and all of them point to the cell B2. Which one would you choose? Is text function in Excel is used to determine if the value is the text value. And you can see that it checks whether a value is text and returns true or false. All you need to do is just to point this function to the particular cell. And then it returns true, and you see that the value was automatically replicated because this particular set of data is Excel table, and Excel table propagates all the values across the entire column. So the correct answer here is B, is text, and then you point to the cell where you need to calculate the value. All other choices here in the list are not valid choices, and they are designed to trick you. You can check in Excel by yourself to see that isString, isChar, and isAlpha functions are not available. Another important thing to keep in mind is that isText is a part of a group of functions called the isFunctions that return logical value true or false. And it's a very good idea to memorize all these functions, or at least have some familiarity which functions are available and used for particular situation in Excel. If you would like to take a shortcut and get prepared faster, make sure to check out the description of the video and download available materials. Please make sure to check out my ebook, Top 50 Excel Interview and Assessment Test Questions. It not only provides you insider view of the testing process, but also gives you top questions and answers, keyboard shortcuts, allows you to learn the best ways to prepare for the test. You can also learn what to do when you arrive for the test, and it gives you tips and tricks and hacks to get ready. Links to available downloads are in the description of this video. Sometimes you might be asked a question, how to limit data range entries in Excel, and specifically in this question, in columns C and B. And the choices that you might see on the screen would be data validation, data selection, what if analysis, and data filtering. Which one would you choose? Which one do you think is the right choice? If you look at the sample here, you quickly can see that columns B and C, and specifically values B2 and C2, represent the dates. And in order to limit the data entries here, we would need to use a data validation feature. To get to the data validation feature, we need to go to the Data tab and go to the Data Validation and select Data Validation option. And here we are presented with the dialog box where we have multiple selections. For example, we can choose the data type that we're trying to validate. In our case, it's a start date and end date. And then we have options of entering data and limiting data entries in between values, not between, equal to, not equal to, and all these choices listed here in the list. And then here you have choices of where do you want to limit based on the start date and end date. Keep in mind that based on the data type, if you're choosing maybe validating numeric values or text values, you will be presented with the different choices. So the correct answer is A, data validation. In an Excel, data validation can prevent entries of duplicate values and also can limit the ranges of validated values. Very frequently, you might be presented with the question that tests your knowledge of Excel function. For example, which function returns the leftmost 3 characters from the cell A2? And you're presented with the screenshot, or maybe without screenshot. In this case, screenshot shows 4 cities in the column A, and you need to calculate the value in the column B. And the choices presented are get function, retrieve function, left function, and then left char function. Which one would you choose? To get the leftmost characters from the string, you need to use the left function. When you type left, it shows you the function itself and what it does, and it returns the specific number of characters from the start of the text string. And left part is typically where string starts. When you open up parentheses of the left function, you see that you should supply the text cell where text is located, which in our case is cell A2, and a number of characters that you're trying to get from the string, which in our case is 3. And once we hit enter, it shows you that it extracted 3 characters from Milwaukee, which would be MIL. You can replicate this function on the rest of the cells in the column B, and you will get first 3 characters from the cities Chicago, Detroit, and Atlanta. So the correct answer here is C, which is left, and then in parentheses you specify where the original value of text is located. And after the comma, you specify how many characters you would like to extract from the start of the string. A lot of people ask, how can I help on this channel? One of the best ways to help is to help other people answer the questions that they're getting. If you know the answer to the question that you see in comments, please post the answer in the comment section of this video. Now let's continue and help you to get ready for Excel interview and assessment test. Here is the typical question which tests your knowledge of Excel ribbon commands. Which Excel ribbon commands you can use to achieve same results? When you select cell A1, hover the pointer over the cell border and drag the cell to a new location. You are presented with the screen, and in cell 1 there is a text value of name, and there are 4 choices: cut and format, copy as picture, cut and paste, copy and paste. Which one would you choose? You can drag the value in Excel cell by selecting the cell and changing the cursor to the arrows, and then when you drag this, it will move the value along with this. And moving the value is an equivalent of cut and paste command. You can use cut and paste, or you can use keyboard shortcuts for cut and paste. Let me undo this real quick, and we will use undo functionality on the quick bar. And then to use cut and paste format, we can do cut here, right on the ribbon, and then select the new location for the cell, and then we can click paste. Or we can use keyboard shortcuts after I undo it again. And for keyboard shortcuts, I'll press Ctrl X and then move the cursor to a new location and then press Ctrl V. So the correct answer here is C, cut and paste. Dragging the value of the cell is very similar to cut and paste functionality available in Microsoft Excel. In keyboard shortcuts for this, for cut it's Ctrl X, and for paste it's Ctrl V. Can I ask you to do me a favor? If you like the content, please give this video a big thumbs up to tell us that you need more content like this. Now let's continue and help you to get ready for Excel interview and assessment test. Not so long ago, Excel assessment test questions always had VLOOKUP functions in them. Since additional functionality was added into Microsoft Excel, now you are tested for your knowledge of index and match functions, which is a more sophisticated equivalent of VLOOKUP. For example, how to display the product ID for product name water cooler in cell E2. And you present it with the screen where you can see different product IDs, different product names, and product prices. And you have product name of water cooler, and then you have column F where the final value should be added. And you have 4 different choices. You have nested match inside match, you have nested index inside match, then you have nested index inside index function, and then you have nested match inside index function. So which one would you choose? Which one do you think is the right answer? And as you might have figured out by now, the correct answer is the match inside the index function. First, you need to identify where water cooler value is located in the range B2 to B7. And then you take this value, and through the index function, you identify the product ID for that particular selection. So when we hit enter for this function, the final answer and final product ID will be 3, which matches the water cooler. So the correct answer here is D, and you have match function inside of nested index function. And one of the big advantage of index and match pair functions is that the VLOOKUP value can be in any column of the array, unlike the VLOOKUP function, in which lookup value must be in the first column. Here is the question to test your knowledge of Excel formatting features. Row, and then you need to pick up your answer, causes adjacent rows to have different formatting so that each row in the table is distinguished from surrounding rows. And then there are 4 choices, as well as the table presented here: bending, conditional formatting, conditional background, and format painter. Which option would you choose? And the correct answer is row bending. To enable row bending in Excel, you have 2 options to do it. You can either use conditional formatting for that, or you can convert Excel dataset into Excel table. Let's look at both of these options. Let's first try to apply bending through conditional formatting. To do that, you need to select the dataset, and then navigate to conditional formatting, click Create New Rule, and here you select Use Formula to determine which cells to format. In the formula section, you enter the formula, which is mod, and then you choose based on the row, and every other row you would need to format it with the different style. And here in the format section, we would need to pick a different background for this row. I'll just pick the lightest so it could be printed on black and white paper. And click OK. And click OK again. And then you see, if I unselect the values, that the bending has been applied. I'm going to undo this selection, and then we will create the table from this data set. To do it, you need to select the range that you're trying to convert, click Insert, click Table, confirm the range, and as you can see, the values have been automatically converted, and you see row bending on each row of this newly created Excel table. And as you can see, the correct answer to this question is row bending. And we also learned here that bending is used by default in Excel tables. Can I ask you to do me a favor? If you know someone who is getting ready for interview or Excel assessment test, please share this video with them. This is going to help them pass and get their dream job. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Now let's continue and help you to get ready for Excel interview and assessment test. Let's look at the question where you will be tested on your knowledge of VLOOKUP, index, and match functions. For example, the choice you need to make calculates relative position of an item in the range or a table, which is the same as specified value in the specified order. And you have 4 choices: VLOOKUP, match, index, and an index plus match. Which one would you choose? For example, if we type the formula for match, you will see that we're trying to look up the value in E2 cell within the range of A2 through A6. Once we click Enter, you will see that the calculated value in the index is 3, because bananas are number 3 within the range of A2 through A6. Now, if we change bananas to pears, you will see that the pears will have match value of 4 because they are 4th on the list in the same range. As you can see, the correct answer is B, which is match. And match is an Excel functions to calculate relative position of a lookup value in a row, column, or a table. And match supports approximate or exact matching. In the combination of index match, match is used to calculate the position, and index returns the value of that position. Please make sure to check out my PDF ebook, Top 50 Excel Interview and Assessment Test Questions. It helped a lot of people to get hired. Also, consider subscribing to this channel. We have a lot of people helping each other, and here you will get answers to all your questions related to Microsoft Excel interview and assessment test. If you like the content, please share with other people who are looking for the job and will benefit from this. And give this video a big thumbs up. If you have a question about Excel assessment test, or would like to share with us what are the recent questions that you're getting during the test, please make sure to leave them in the comments. We have a community of dedicated people helping each other to pass the test. All the best on your Excel interview and assessment test.